The Phoenix Suns are on a collision course with the league best Golden State Warriors. Riding a 16-game winning streak, they look as good as a team that made the NBA Finals last July. And from a hobby perspective, cards from the Suns' dynamic duo of Chris Paul and Devin Booker were sizzling back then. Are we seeing similar growths now? Welcome back, guys. Cardboards here, where we discuss everything cards, money, and investing. If this is the type of content you enjoy, do hit that subscribe button and stay notified for future videos like this one. Alright, let's go. This video was inspired by a comment on my channel to discuss the charts and numbers for the Phoenix Suns' impressive early season run. Before we dive into those numbers, let's rewind and take a look at how the all-star backcourt of the Suns did last season when they lifted the Western Conference title but ultimately falling short to the Milwaukee Bucks. We start with veteran Chris Paul and using his Topps Chrome 2005 PSA 9 rookie card as an example. PSA 9s were heavily traded in last season due to its lower pop count of the PSA 10s, so volume of transactions give good indication of demand. His Chrome PSA 9 started around the $200 mark in the early of the season and rose alongside the rest of the hobby to those crazy numbers we saw in early 2021. In the market peak of February, Phoenix was sitting at a 22-11 record, extremely solid. The hobby market started to calm down in March and April, but Phoenix was blitzing in those 2 months with a combined 24-7 record. Now, Chris Paul cards started to slide along with the rest of the market to almost where it began back in December, but climbed back up to $400 when the postseason began, and that's when the Suns entered the playoffs as the number 2 seed with a 51-11 record. That's a 70% win rate. Now, during the time, Paul's cards held steady as Suns went through to the finals and then ultimately losing, which then saw a decline in his prices, landing back at his original December price at $200 around August. So, to recap, he started at $200 in December 2020, ignoring the mighty market burst in February. He stabilized around $400 during the start of playoffs, and now it's back down to $200 in August. Move on to Devin Booker. We focus on his base Prism PSA 10. Booker's card started out early in the season already on a high note around $1,300. But it wasn't all organic growth previously. Back in mid-2020, when his base Prism PSA 10 were trending around the $400 to $500 range, it got a supercharge due to this Instagram post by a familiar name. The market went ballistic, and the prices went up 2 to 3 folds for no apparent reason. Well, if you count the IG post as a reason, you're essentially one of those types that buys solely into the hype. Some may also argue it's the trade that landed Chris Paul to Phoenix as Booker's running back, which was around at the same time. But how true is that assumption, as we didn't see those sort of jumps when Paul was traded to the Rockets to play alongside James Harden? And to be honest, that was an amazing Houston Rockets team. Just one Chris Paul injury in Game 5 versus the Warriors could have altered NBA history and the Warriors dynasty. Now, coming back to Booker, it didn't take too long that the market realized that Booker's cards were overheating and started to trend down even when the hobby was rising in February 2021. You can see the non-correlation to the Suns' performance when we were discussing Chris Paul's chart, and prices finally stabilized around the 600 to 800 during the NBA Finals and well into the 2020 offseason. So, unlike Chris Paul, Booker cards had very little to do with how Phoenix progressed during the season, which in part could be blamed by the over-speculation in the summer of 2020. So let's look at the 2021 season. The optimism for the Suns to repeat their 2020 journey was met with slight uncertainty. Despite making a finals run, bookmakers had Phoenix as the 5th best odds to win a title behind Brooklyn, Golden State, Milwaukee, and the Los Angeles Lakers. While subsequently, Phoenix has overtaken the Lakers, it hasn't cracked the top 3 despite a 17-3 record over the first 20 games of the season. And that's including that impressive 16-game winning streak at the time of this recording. So alright, we know the Suns are awesome again and blitzing, and we know Chris Paul and Booker cards are kind of where they started in 2020 season. So we are on a solid base price to move in front as one of the hottest teams in the league next to the Warriors. This means card prices should be showing an upward trend, right, for our dynamic duo? Wrong. Chris Paul Chrome PSA 9 still hovering steady, but Booker's cards continue to slide by 20%, dropping close to $500 mark. So what's going on? How can one of the hottest pairing in the NBA, shooting the lights out and winning 16 games straight, not make a push in hobby demand? The answer is exactly in the last sentence I made: demand. It's one thing to support your team or player, enjoy the games, riding the streak with them, but it's completely different when putting money into a commodity that not necessarily translates to a return. It's different to a conventional investment like a stock market where a company does well, booking strong quarterly profits, and you invest in them with not only expectations of capital growth but also dividend distribution. So even if market prices stay flat, as is a factor of demand and supply in the capital markets, profits gets distributed to the shareholders and you still get rewarded for your faith in that company. Sports cards don't pay a dividend. Chris Paul and Devin Booker doesn't reward you financially for winning 16 games straight. The card market doesn't reward you financially for winning 16 games straight. Now, I've spoken to you guys before who believe in Booker long term and perhaps the next great shooting guard, and that's all fine. But we have seen many great shooting guards over the last 20 years not named Jordan or Kobe: Reggie Miller, Ray Allen, Allen Iverson, Clyde Drexler. Have they transitioned to hobby success both during and after their playing days? I'm not saying you guys or the card market made a mistake by investing in Booker. Cards as a hobby is loved as a hobby first, and financial investment second. If we flip that around, we'll tend to enjoy the hobby less and forget about what's truly the core of the hobby, the sport itself. Personally, as a card investor, I take this viewpoint very seriously in considering what cards to invest in and my investment goals. The group that agrees to pay $500 or more for a Devin Booker Prism PSA 10 trading card is relatively small compared to the Devin Booker fan base who is cheering his on-court success at this moment. So when analyzing the market, you need to be more focused on that group and less of the broader fan base because, as we can see from all the charts today, it's nothing to do with wins. Wins and on-court success drives overall popularity, but only a small subset of that potentially drives the card values. Alright, I hope this perspective is useful. Shout out to my audience for posing this question and looking forward to the next Titan matchup between the two top teams in the West. Till the next video, Card Boss out.